Every World Cup has a team nobody is talking about heading in, quietly doing its work while the spotlight sits elsewhere.
48 teams entered this tournament. Most of the attention went to the ones with a single, unmistakable global superstar.
Switzerland wasn't one of those teams. No global icon, no viral highlight reel, barely a mention in the preview shows. Their squad leans older, veterans who have played together for club and country for the better part of a decade. One name breaks that pattern: a 20-year-old midfielder handed real minutes and making the most of every one of them. None of this looked like the start of a special run. It looked, honestly, like a solid but unremarkable squad. Keep that low profile in mind. Everything that follows happens almost entirely outside the tournament's biggest spotlight. Their opening match ends in a draw. Not a disaster, not a statement, just a point on the board. 2 matches later, wins over the tournament's other group opponents secure first place without a single moment of real drama. Reaching the knockout rounds barely registers outside their own country. There's no headline moment to point to yet. The round of 32 brings a tougher test, a well-regarded opponent looking to spring an early upset. Switzerland doesn't just survive it, they shut the game down completely, conceding nothing across the full 90 minutes. Across the entire group stage, they'd conceded only 3 goals total, a quietly excellent defensive number nobody highlighted.
Pundits watching from outside start to notice a pattern. This team is hard to break down, even when it isn't flashy.
The round of 16 brings South American opposition, a side full of individual flair and dangerous attacking talent. For 90 regulation minutes, neither side finds the breakthrough. The scoreline stays locked at nothing apiece. Extra time arrives, and still nothing changes. Both goalkeepers make the saves that matter most in the biggest moments. A full 120 minutes played, and the match still refuses to produce a single goal for either side. It comes down to penalties, the format's cruelest and most honest test of nerve under real pressure. The opposing side's players miss twice under the weight of the moment, their shots drifting off target. Switzerland's goalkeeper reads one attempt perfectly, denying it outright and shifting the entire shootout's momentum. The final Swiss penalty finds the corner cleanly. The shootout ends 4-3 in their favor. It sends Switzerland into the quarterfinals for the first time since 1954, over 70 years ago. Back then, Switzerland was the host nation. This time, they earned it the hard way, as visitors on foreign soil.
So what actually explains a run built on almost no individual headlines at all? The mechanism is worth unpacking.
Start with the spine of the team. Several players who've shared a locker room in some form for years.
That kind of continuity builds a shared defensive shape that's genuinely difficult to unpick under pressure. A settled back line reads danger a fraction of a second earlier than a group thrown together at the last minute. Layer in the goalkeeper, whose decisive stop in the shootout wasn't luck. It was the product of real shot-stopping form. Then add the one true wildcard, the 20-year-old midfielder contributing goals and assists well beyond typical rookie output. A settled veteran core gives a team its floor. One inspired young talent can occasionally raise its ceiling. That combination, unglamorous as it sounds, is exactly what ground out 3 shutout or near shutout results in a row. None of it required a single moment of individual magic to carry the entire result on its own. It's a quieter model than most of the tournament's headline teams are currently running with. But quiet doesn't mean unchallenged. Some analysts have pushed back hard on how impressive this run really is. Their group draw, the argument goes, was genuinely favorable, missing several of the tournament's traditional heavyweight sides. Their knockout opponents so far, by that same argument, weren't among the pre-tournament title favorites either. Call it, as some have, a soft run through the draw rather than proof of genuine top-tier quality. It's a fair point, and worth holding on to rather than dismissing just because the results have gone their way. Even a favorable draw, though, still has to be finished. Missed penalties happen to favored teams too regularly. There's also real tension heading into the next match. 3 key players picked up injury doubts in training. The head coach didn't hide his concern publicly, calling any potential absence a genuinely big issue for the squad. A settled defensive shape only holds if the same settled players are actually available to fill it. That uncertainty adds a layer the earlier rounds didn't really have to deal with in the same way. Whatever the lineup ends up being, the next opponent is unlike anything faced so far this tournament. It's the defending, star-driven side many expect to go furthest, built around one of the sport's most decorated names. That team has already shown this tournament it can produce individual magic out of almost nothing, under real pressure.
2 very different models are about to meet directly, one built on structure, the other on a singular talent.
Neither approach is inherently superior. Both have carried teams deep into World Cups before, in different eras entirely.
What happens next on the pitch is still genuinely unknown, and this video won't pretend otherwise.
What's already true, regardless of that result, is that the 70-year gap has already been closed. A team with no obvious headline name has already outlasted the vast majority of the field this summer. They've done it with 3 players over 30, one 20-year-old find, and a defense that simply stays composed. The lesson underneath the result isn't really about penalties or draws or bracket luck at all. It's that structure, discipline, and shared understanding can take a team further than raw individual talent alone predicts. That doesn't mean individual brilliance doesn't matter. It clearly still decides plenty of matches on its own.
It means the two forces aren't opposites so much as two separate, genuinely valid paths to the same destination.
For 71 years, this particular federation didn't find either path far enough to reach this exact stage.
This year, the quieter path finally worked, at least as far as the final 8 teams standing.
Whether it works one round further is a question for the pitch, not for a script written in advance. What can be said now is that this run has already rewritten one meaningful line in a very long record book. 71 years is longer than most fans watching this match have been alive by a wide margin. It's long enough that the last time this happened, this same federation was hosting the entire tournament itself. Back then, hosting guaranteed a spot in the later rounds. This time, nothing was guaranteed at all. Every match had to be earned independently against opponents with just as much motivation to advance. A draw here, a clean sheet there, one big save, one converted penalty, small moments stacked carefully. None of those moments alone looks historic. Stacked together, they add up to exactly that. That's often how these longer droughts actually end, not with one dramatic night, but with a string of solid ones. It's a less cinematic story than a single moment of individual brilliance breaking a decades-long curse outright. But it might be the more repeatable one for federations that can't count on producing a generational star every cycle. Structure can be built deliberately. A once-in-a-generation talent, by definition, can't be planned for reliably. That's arguably the most exportable part of this particular story for any federation watching from the outside. You don't need a Ballon d'Or contender to make a genuine run this deep into a World Cup. You need a defense that holds its shape, a goalkeeper in form, and just enough moments of individual quality. Whether that's a satisfying story for neutral fans is a matter of taste. It's certainly an instructive one.
The next match will test every part of that formula against the tournament's most individually gifted remaining side.
Win or lose, the run to this point already stands on its own, 71 years in the making. Sometimes the more interesting story in a tournament full of superstars is the team that didn't need one.